Welcome to Ecclesia Principles, a biblical strategy for believers to engage in God's design for government with Ray Eppard.
Hello, glad you could join us again today. This week, we're going to look at something that is becoming much more of a hot topic, and that is Christian nationalism. And today, we're going to address the issue, is Christian nationalism a good thing? And many people are saying it's a bad thing. But we actually need to understand a little bit of the history of it. And in one reality, prior to about 2 years ago, there was no such thing as Christian nationalism. It wasn't anything that was discussed. It wasn't anything that was talked about. It's been kind of created. And if you would, it's largely been created to be a boogeyman, that you need to stay away from that. And it's designed to scare people off. One of the things you have to understand is when you hear terms that you're not familiar with and people talk about how terrible they are, what they're trying to do is to make sure you avoid accepting something. They have an agenda in doing that, and it's not really about whether something is good or if something is bad. It's really, they just don't want you to go there. They want to discourage that. And if you would, I'll throw this out. I would encourage you to Google a speech or an article, one of the two. I read it in an article, but I think it was something that was delivered in a speech by Senator Josh Hawley on the subject of Christian nationalism. We're not going to have time to get into everything that he dealt with, but it's actually the best thing I've ever read on that subject, because everything prior to the Reformation, it was kingdoms. It was kings, queens, if you would, dictators. Bottom line from that standpoint. And with the Reformation, with a new light of Christianity coming into the earth, it began to affect how people saw government. And the bottom line, it began to move government away from kingdoms to representative governments, democratic republics. It began to push things that way. So if you would, I want to read from Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, verse very familiar to all of us. But it says, "Then God said, let us make man in our image according to our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." He said, let them have dominion. If you would, Christian nationalism, and again, to me, when it first came out, I'm like, started looking into it because it just wasn't really a thing. But in looking at it, if that is what people are going to call biblical application of truth to government, then okay, fine. Let's call it Christian nationalism. I'm not going to fight that topic. It's kind of gained the ascendancy of the idea. But with that, you see, and let's go back to the idea of a reporter on MSNBC who said Christian nationalists believe that our rights are given by God and not by government. Wow. Evidently, Christian nationalism is not a bad thing if that's the case. Join us again tomorrow and we will continue talking about this subject.
You've been listening to Ecclesia Principles with Ray Eppard. Follow us on YouTube and Facebook on our Ray Eppard pages. This program was brought to you by Victory Worship Center and World Outreach. Services Sunday 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock, 200 Hammond Lane, Stanton, Virginia.